What's up guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be checking out JJRC's H32GH, sent to me courtesy of Gearbest.com. Is it any good? Is it worth your money? Let's find out. The H32GH is a microclass quadcopter with altitude hold and 5.8 gigahertz FPV. So it has this little pinhole camera in the front here, which is basically a straight on, maybe slightly downward angle. And it's gonna give you 720p video back to an FPV screen that is included in this package. And the FPV in this one works very well. Haven't had any issues with it. The only issues I've really had with this one is some range issues. I've had some dropouts with this one and it's kind of floated away from me. Luckily it lands itself after a few seconds, so obviously I still have it, but I have had 2 or 3 instances where it kind of got away from me. So something to beware on that one. I could just have a defective one or something like that. I've seen a few other reviews where no one else seemed to mention this problem. So maybe it's just this one. Anyway, I've talked too much already, so why don't we jump into the flight video. So this one you connect the battery in the back. There is no on-off switch. And you turn on the transmitter, and I believe this one auto binds. We're getting a few dropouts on the FPV screen. I can't remember, do you gotta go up and down? Maybe that's it, yeah, you gotta give the throttle stick an up and down, and then it's bound. And then let's go over the buttons on the transmitter real quick. Obviously you got your throttle and your pitch and roll. Here is your video button, clearly labeled. Definitely like that the buttons on this one are clearly labeled. Although this one here is labeled function switchover, and that's basically gonna start and stop the props. Gonna get them idling. And then on this side you have your photograph button, and on the bottom it is your return to home, and that's gonna also put it into headless mode. You also have your trim buttons here and a flip button here, and I can't exactly remember what this one does. We'll test that when we get it in the air. The other thing on this one, it tells you which rate you're in, and to change the rate you kind of push in this dial here and then dial in the number. Starts out at 50% rate, and we're gonna fly at 100% here. My screen's almost dying. Hopefully that'll last for the video. And that's kind of annoying in my opinion. Not a huge deal breaker, but it's just, I wish there was a button to just kind of put it in 100%. Maybe there is and I'm just doing it wrong. So why don't we take off here? We'll start a video. Actually, I don't think I have a card in here. Forgot to put the SD card in here, and that brings me to another point with this one. This one does not come with an SD card, so that's another little drawback on this one. It does have the on-off switch, which is cool, and it's got all the other features, but it doesn't come with an SD card, which is kind of annoying in my opinion, but what are you gonna do? So let's start our video, and you get your little indication here that you're recording. So this button here is gonna idle the props. There they go, they start spinning, and then when you wanna take off, you just kinda give it some throttle. And this one got some power to it. Very quick, maneuverable little quad. Let's get it in here for a nice close-up. I like this way this one flies. This is one of my favorite classes of quad right here. Very quick on this 100% rate. Has a little bit of a slow yaw. That's the yaw on 100% there. But, you know, it gets moving pretty quick, and you can move it pretty well. So it might be a slightly slow yaw, but not a huge deal. So you got your red light. Let's see if we can see that. Red light flashing underneath telling you you're recording. Let's look at our screen. Getting a good shot of my car there. And as you see, the altitude hold works pretty well. Looks pretty stable to me. Getting a little bit of wind pushing it that way. So let's bring it back. And it is pretty maneuverable. You know, you can get this one going pretty good. Let's take it up a little higher. Haven't really had any issues with this one as far as the altitude hold bringing it with bringing it down. Some of the early versions of the Altitude Hold quads, I had difficulty bringing them down once I got them up in the air. But this one seems to be working very well. And let's bring it down now. See, it's coming down nice. And this one flies very nice. Moves around real well. Kind of quiet. Gets a little loud when you turn and get it close to you. But, you know, if you're gonna be flying this one around indoors or something like that, it is pretty quiet. So it's not gonna bother too many people. It does come with attachable prop guards. I did not mess around with those at all. If they don't come attached, I usually don't fly it at all with them attached. Or I'm sorry, I don't usually bother attaching them. And has a nice little blue LED in the front, kind of like almost like a Cylon look to it. Cylon spaceship. Seems to hold the altitude very well. Let's see if we can get some flips in here. So it flips very nice. This one's pretty acrobatic and sporty. Flips in all 4 directions, as most quads do. And it recovers from the flips very well, as you can see. Let's see what this, press this button does, and okay, that's gonna shut off your LEDs. So this upper left button shuts off the LEDs. So if you want to get maybe, looks like it just shuts the lower ones down, because it looks like that headlight looking thing is still on. So this one flies real nice. Just unfortunately, I've had a few sort of range issues with it, had a few dropouts. Let's see if we can maybe demonstrate it, and there you go. It's out of range right there. So I'm gonna have to go walk and get it. But it is nice that it lands itself when it flies out of range. But for a quad this size, I feel like it doesn't have great range. So I'm not sure if it's just I got a defective one, or if that's just the range of the quadcopter. Haven't seen anybody else really complaining about range on this one, so it could be the case that I just have a defective one. So let's see what we got here. My FPV screen died. It does last quite a bit. I'm gonna stop my video here too. So we'll stop the video. Maybe we'll hand launch this thing, if we can do that. There we go. But other than that range issue, I really like this one. So it could just be, you know, a problem that I have with this one, and not a problem with all of these. I'm getting eaten alive by bugs over here, so I'm gonna kind of move back over this way. So you get about a 5.5 minute flight time out of this one, and that's a decent flight time, but with the included charger on this one, it took an hour and 10 minutes to charge, which seems like a very long time for this size battery and this size quad. I think the Cyma X11 charges in like 45 minutes with the included charger. So if you got a hobby grade charger, you know, it's probably not going to be an issue for you. But, you know, if this is like your first quad and you don't have something like that, you're going to be waiting a while to charge the battery on this one, unless you get more, obviously. So there's LVC right there. So why don't we do a landing here? I didn't demonstrate return to home, but I did try that on a few occasions and it seemed to work well. Here's the other issue I have, and I'm kind of glad that just happened right there, where it just kind of floated over into the curb. With a lot of these altitude holds, it's really hard to kill the props, kill the motors on them. So when I hit the auto land button there, you know, it landed and it did everything okay, but it kind of bounced around a little bit and did its thing, and then it ran into the curb and the props hadn't totally shut off yet. So that's definitely something to be aware of on these altitude hold quads. They are somewhat difficult to kill the motors on, and sometimes even when you're not necessarily crashing like I was there, you're gonna have an issue where you run into something because they kind of bounce around a little bit. So be cautious of where you land these and how you land them and things like that. Anyway, let's go to final thoughts. So there you have it, flight video of the JJRC H32GH, sent to me courtesy of Gearbest.com. If you want to check this one out, I'll have it linked in the description. Comes in at around 80 bucks at the time of making this video. So a little bit on the high end, but not too bad. And you definitely have a lot of features packed in this one, like 5.8 gigahertz and the altitude hold. Just had the one little issue with range on this one, so I think if you want to get into FPV, it might be a good starter, but it does have a narrow angle lens on it, and it is slightly pointed downwards, so it's going to be hard to fly this one true FPV. But don't think it's necessarily intended for that. It's kind of more of a get your feet wet in the hobby if you want to try out FPV. The screen works very well, and it had good range as far as the FPV goes, so thumbs up there. And I think this one would appeal to probably beginner to intermediate flyers and maybe even advanced. So it's definitely not a bad quad. It flies around, it's very maneuverable. So if you want to check it out, hit the link in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If I missed anything or if you have any questions at all, hit me up in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and until the next video, try not to crash and burn, and happy flying. Thanks for watching, everybody.